What the study says.
Imagine you're about to make a huge decision. Maybe choosing which company gets a multi-million-dollar contract.
Or even deciding who makes the first flight in history, like the Wright brothers.
Exactly. What's the most unbiased way? You think? Good toss, right. Sort of the gold standard for fairness.
The ultimate symbol.
But what if I told you that even a fair coin isn't quite as random as you've always believed? Welcome back to What the Study Says. I'm Dr. Kai.
And I'm Dr. May. Today we're digging into some fascinating research, research that actually won an Ig Nobel Prize.
Ah, the Ig Nobels, the ones that make you laugh, then think. I love those.
Me too. And this was the 2024 Probability Prize winner. The study title is Great. Fair coins tend to land on the same side they started. Evidence from 350,757 flips.
Wow, 350,000 flips. That title alone kind of messes with your head, doesn't it? Challenges everything we assume about chance.
It really does. It suggests there's a hidden pattern in something we think is, well, perfectly random.
So how did they even approach studying that? And what did they actually find with all those flips?
Well, what's really interesting is how it plays with our idea of 50-50. Now, it is still 50-50 heads or tails overall, if you don't know which side it started on. But this huge study, meticulously tracking, over 350,000 flips.
Yeah.
They found this subtle but really consistent bias. Coins landed on the same side sort of 50.8% of the time.
50.8%, that's specific. And consistent.
It's very. And get this, it's remarkably close to the 51% that was actually predicted by a physics model back in 2007. The Diaconis, Holmes, and Montgomery model, or DHM.
Wait, so a model predicted this years ago, before they did all the flips?
Exactly. The theory was already there, based on physics. This massive data set just provided the real-world proof.
So, okay, if it starts heads up, it's slightly more likely to land heads up. That's genuinely surprising. Why? Why does that happen? Is it a trick?
Not a trick, no. It's down to physics, like the model suggested. The DHM model says when we flip a coin, humans, we introduce this tiny wobble, a percent...
Like a spinning top that's a bit off balance.
Exactly like that. And because of that wobble, the side that started facing up spends just a tiny bit more time facing up as it flies through the air.
Huh. Just enough to skew the odds slightly.
Just enough. It creates that subtle bias, that 50.8% towards landing the same way it started.
Okay, that makes sense physically. But it makes me wonder, does everyone flip the same way? Do they see differences between people?
Oh, absolutely. That was another fascinating part. There was significant variation between people. Some flippers had a much stronger same-side bias than others.
Meaning some people wobble it more, basically.
Sort of, yeah. They introduce more of that precession naturally. But, and this is interesting, the bias actually decreases with practice.
You can learn to flip better, or I guess more randomly.
It seems so. The researchers estimated that after about 10,000 flips, you could pretty much eliminate that same-side tendency.
10,000 flips. Okay, that's some serious dedication to randomness.
Right. So you could train yourself to be a truly unbiased flipper, in theory.
It's easy to think of this as just, a quirky little finding. But coin flips decide big things sometimes.
Definitely. You mentioned the Wright brothers earlier. They used a coin toss in 1903 to decide who flew first.
And didn't you mention a game show? With millions at stake.
Yeah, more recently, a $5,000 game show prize literally hinged on a coin flip. Double or nothing, basically.
Wow. So how might this tiny 0.8% bias have played out in moments like those? Does it actually matter?
Well, it matters if you know the starting position. And that's the key takeaway for you, the listener. That tiny edge translates into a real betting advantage.
An advantage? How significant are we talking? 0.8% sounds small.
It sounds small, but think about it like this. If you bet just $1, 1,000 times, always betting on the side it started on, you'd expect to make an average profit of about $19, which, believe it or not, is actually better odds than the house edge in blackjack at many casinos.
Better than blackjack, just from knowing the starting side.
Yep. And apply that to the $5 million game show prize. That 0.8% edge could theoretically be worth around $95,000 on average for someone who knew the starting position.
$95,000. Okay, that's not small at all.
Not at all. It really highlights why, for anything important, you absolutely must conceal the coin's starting position, or have the catcher call it in the air, maybe.
So, wrapping this up, this huge study, hundreds of thousands of flips, it basically proves this subtle physical bias exists in human coin flips.
Right. It confirms the physics model and shows there's this measurable tendency for coins to land the same way they started.
But it also depends on the person flipping.
And how much they've practiced. So it's not quite destiny, but it's not pure chance either.
It definitely challenges our whole idea of what randomness even is.
It really does. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Sure.
So next time you see a coin flip, or maybe flip one yourself, will you check which side it started on?
And it makes you wonder what other things we think are totally random might have these little hidden biases just waiting to be found.
Exactly. What else isn't quite as random as we assume?
Well, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the surprising physics of a simple coin toss.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Definitely give us a subscribe if you enjoyed it, and maybe share this with someone who loves those wait really moments.